Welcome, everyone, to another fantastic episode of the Powerhouse Podcast. I am seriously so excited because I have one of the most amazing powerhouse women I know and one of my dear friends who is joining us on the show today. I cannot wait to introduce you to her. But before I do, let me just remind you that this is our place to really have those big, courageous, connected conversations. We're going to get meaty, we're going to get rich, we're going to get juicy, and we never know where the conversation is going to go. It's about how we get to show up differently as leaders in today's world, knowing that leadership is how you choose to show up, how you choose to serve others, and how you choose to take personal responsibility inside that space. And so without further ado, let me introduce you to the amazing, fabulous powerhouse, Natalie Ledwell. Natalie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks, Candy. Thanks for having me. Crowd goes wild.
Woo! Oh, I'm going wild. I am so excited to have you here. And let me tell you a little bit about why I love Natalie. I mean, this is her bio. There's so many reasons I love her, but let me give you a little bit about her background. She's a best-selling author, host of The Inspiration Show, co-host of the cable TV show Wake Up, and co-founder of Mind Movies, which is an absolutely fantastic platform. It's a hugely successful and revolutionary personal development company that has reached over 4 million people worldwide. She is currently working on her brand new groundbreaking program entitled Self-Growth Studies, which is a powerful children's curriculum designed to help youth from ages 15 to 18 in establishing a strong foundation that will give them life-affirming tools, skills, and habits for the rest of their lives. Talk about growing emerging leaders. The pilot program is being used in Australia and New Zealand currently, with plans to release it to education systems around the world this year. So I am super excited. Natalie, welcome. So let's talk a little bit about that. You play in some really big spaces. You have some massive influence in working with emerging leaders, and now with this big directive around growing and providing tools and strategies for children. Talk about where some of that came from and what's maybe on the horizon.
Well, I think that, and I still pinch myself every day, let's be honest. I mean, I grew up in a country town in Australia, and I'm one of 8 kids. So I came from very, very humble beginnings, so that I get to be in this world and play and at this level is just, it blows my mind. And I think that part of the reason that I get to do that, or that that I get to play here, is because I believe I can. Now, part of the reason I believe I can is because I've surrounded myself with some really powerful people. My now ex-husband and I, we were married for 18 years. We started Mind Movies together. We actually had a whole bunch of different businesses together. And about 5 years ago, we called it quits. We kind of dropped the ball and we separated. And so I stepped into this new version of who I am. So I we were living in San Diego. I moved to LA. I became part of a couple of groups called like the Transformational Leader Councils, Evolutionary Business Council, which you and I are both members of. So I really surrounded myself with successful people, so that it was like, when I was in that energy, not only could I see what was possible, but I could also believe that it was possible for me. And I had the right people around me that would support me and kind of be my cheerleader, every time I sort of put my mind to something that's, so outrageous. I'm just like, honestly, the kids program, I don't even know how I'm doing this.
Oh.
I left school when I was 15. I don't have kids. And I had several projects that were presenting themselves to me, the TV show and a new book and all of these kind of things, which of course I'm capable of doing all of them, but I realized I wasn't getting anywhere with any of them. So I'm like, I have to focus on one. So the kids was the last choice. I'm like, no, I created like a 12-week program. I don't know what else to do with that. Like, I'm going to put that on the side burner and focus on something different. But of course, it's divine purpose. My
Right.
girlfriend from Sydney called me up. She's like, she's a child psychologist. She worked for the UN for 8 years, working in refugee camps around the world. She goes, please let me help you do this curriculum. And it's actually for 5-year-olds to 18-year-olds. So it's
Wow.
like full gamut.
And it's brilliant. I mean, and there's so much inside of that. First of all, I want to have some conversation around, especially as being a powerful female and being in a space to say no to something, to make a shift, to say this relationship's not working, and it's now an opportunity for me to reinvent myself and really step into a different level of who I am. I want to explore that a little bit, because I think sometimes we miss that opportunity. And then I want to come back to some of the work that you're doing with the children, because I get that. I know I have a children's book and a platform, that space, a dream store, that it was kind of like, right now I just don't have the space for that. And divine intervention comes in and says, yes, and this is where you need to show up. And your heart, and I can feel the chills when you talk about it. And I get that, because I know I don't have kids either. And the stories and somehow you're supposed to be in that space playing. And so I want to explore what that looks like, because I get super amped when I think about, when we talk about growing emerging leaders and teaching them to lead from love with love, and you're starting really grassroots with where, man, talk about shifting the consciousness in the world by playing at such a purposeful and powerful level with the kids. We definitely have to dance there. But before we go there, let's talk more around this shift, this transition into a higher level of understanding who you are and how you get to show up being a force to be reckoned. I mean, you're a force, Natalie. Anyone that spends time with you knows that. And you're this powerful female. How do you make that transition, and what was that journey like for you?
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because I think it's really important. I've always been a powerful person. But if you've met my ex-husband, and I'm not sure if you have or not, but he is a force to be reckoned with. So we were two very powerful people. And towards the end of our marriage, I had lost my shine. I felt like I was invisible and that he was sucking up all the air in the room. I felt that I couldn't spread my wings, that I couldn't step into my greatness, that I couldn't, shine the way that I wanted to, because, the parameters of our relationship was that he was the man, he's the husband, he's got to be the leader, the king, and I'm in support. And so I kind of lost my identity. And I think a lot of women do. I was 45 when we split. So, middle-aged and kind of getting spit out. I know a lot of women, like, we lose our identity as being a mother and being a wife and being a, whatever, a career woman or whatever that is. And I didn't have like all of those. I just had this loss of identity because, my husband had a big personality. So when we split, the way that it happened, he actually had met somebody else, which, to be honest with you, I was very grateful for, because I wanted it to be over. And so, yes, I was grateful and relieved. But then, of course, you're going through the, oh, my God, who am I without him? And we've always been a high-profile couple. So it's always been Glenn and Nat. So I'm like, I don't even know what life looks like. So I remember that first week, I'd get up every morning and I'd just walk, and I was listening to The Untethered Soul.
I love that book. Love that book.
Right? So I'm like, I need something positive. I just need to be walking out in nature just to get myself to an energetic level where I can face the day. So by Thursday of that week, my question had shifted. So rather than being, well, who am I without him? Or who then I kind of got to the, wait a minute, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Because
such a powerful question.
Over, right? I've got this amazing platform. I'm financially sound. There's absolutely no excuse. And then I realized that I was using Glenn as an excuse, not to step into what I knew I was capable of, and I was hiding out in my marriage. That's what I was doing. So when I realized I had lost my scapegoat, I'm like, damn it, if it doesn't happen now, it is all on me.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, who do I want to be now? So honestly, one of the most powerful things I did that first year is I did a thing called the Hoffman process, which is, it's, you go to the retreat center. They're done all over the world, but the one in California is in Napa. So you hand over all your electronics, 6.5 days, you're in process. And it's thorough, to say the least.
And probably a bit scary, because you are all by yourself with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I've had many friends. I actually have one friend in particular who, I'll be honest, was an asshole before he went in. He got cancer. And so he did Hoffman while he was going through all these treatments and everything. And he came out an awesome human being. And he's one of my closest friends now. So, you know, it really did a lot to help me understand how I showed up, because I wanted to take responsibility. It's like, okay, it didn't work out. And there was lots of symptoms we could look at, but I'm like, we never got deeper underneath to figure out where this was all coming from. So once I did Hoffman and realized, okay, these are my coping mechanisms. These are my programs. This is why when he did this, that behavior triggered me to do this. It helped me to really step up and go, well, this was my contribution to the end of our marriage. You know, so now that I'm in a new relationship, it's, you know, it's helping me to navigate through this in a much more conscious way. So I'm not making the same mistakes, using the same cop-outs, and really taking more responsibility for myself, rather than looking for validation outside of me with, you know, with my partner, whoever that is.
Right.
So that
and there's so much power in that, right? That sense of really creating awareness around your ownership in any situation, any relationship, and it's interesting because I've even heard, and I know my mom and I had a conversation not too long ago, where even though my father was highly abusive, my mother took a different level of ownership where she said, I allowed some of those things to happen. I never thought, and there was such a healing that happens around that, because when you take that responsibility and you step forward, and I think I love the way you phrase the question, because a lot of us do. We spend a lot of time going, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I without this? Who am I without that? Versus stepping into a very proactive space and empowering space to say, who do I want to be now, and who do I choose to be? Because that's where the real work comes in, right? That's the space where you're like, okay, well, this is it, right? Although I am going to say, when you say middle-aged at 45, as someone who's going to be 45 this year, I think we are in the springtime of our life. Middle-aged is way down the line, my friend.
Well, the traditional view of middle age,
You say that as someone who looks in the mirror going, seriously, 45? How is that possible? It's not possible with our energy. It's just not.
I know. Well, I turned 50 next year, so it's like, ugh. And Wayne, my boyfriend's like, well, you don't act it. And I'm like, oh, that's the best compliment you can
I know, right? I know. The best compliment is when people go, you don't act or look like you're going to be 45. Yeah. I'm like, God bless you.
So, but I remember doing an interview with Panache Desai, you know, like just after coming out of Hoffman, and you know, and I was joking with him saying, yeah, like I feel like I'm Nat 2.0, you know, like this is the new Nat. And he goes, no, it's not. He goes, this is the original Nat.
Oh, I like that.
He said, you've come back into your soul. Like you've embodied yourself again. You're back into your body, and you're back in touch with your soul, which is the original version of who you are. And I'm like, I
love that, because that literally made the hair of my arm stand up. Because we're always like, oh, I want to reinvent myself. I'm Candy 2.0. I'm Nat 2.0. Versus that coming back into yourself and into your soul. Because I would imagine through that journey back, that path back to you, a lot has shifted that's now allowing you to play in this space that's kind of the divine is tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, Nat, here's where I want you to play. So what has that shift done to bring you to this point where now it's about you teaching these kids to get connected in a bigger way? It's so powerful, right?
You know, it's really hard for me to talk about the kids program and not cry. I actually made a new
That's okay. We cry on this show. I have tissue. Literally, they're right by me. I've been known to cry on this show.
Because, you know, having Debbie, my girlfriend from Sydney, step up and go, look, let me help you do the whole curriculum is one thing. But what we're teaching, and I know, like, you know how you've got your angel numbers, like 1111, you know, if that shows up for you, then, you know, it means that you're on purpose. You know, people think that's like an angel winking at you going, you know, every single day since I've been working on this project, I see 1111. And every time I'm working on it, it's like I feel in my bones, it's like I know we're going to change a generation. And so the curriculum covers things like, you know, we've got the basics like gratitude and meditation and yoga, and got kids yoga and stuff like that, which is great. But then we're stepping up another level from that. So then what we're doing is we're talking about teaching compassion and empathy and forgiveness, and how to deal with bullying. How to, and commitments that the kids make with each other about how, they're going to treat each other. We go through all different types of, emotional intelligence. Like, we have the spectrum, there's 6 emotions that we're all born with. And so what happens is that, we go, look, they're not good or bad, because emotions are just emotions. Mm-hmm. And they also have a purpose because they tell us what you're feeling. But if you're in emotion for a certain period of time, that becomes a mood. So when you're in that point, and you need help, who are your safe people? How do you model that conversation? And it's giving parents and teachers the skills and tools to be able to help the kids when the kids come to them and go, look, I'm really feeling sad. How do I, I need help. How do I move through this? Because a lot of the times when we're looking at, the suicide rates with children, a lot of it's because they can't get to speak. They don't speak. They don't talk about it. Right. They suffer in silence. They have no one else to speak to. And the thing is, when they do speak to their parents or the school, a lot of the times they don't know what to do. So it's because Debbie's like a trauma healing specialist as well. We're, with the program, we're including a lot of tools for teachers to be able to help the kids as well, and what signs to look for. And it's like this monster thing. But I just know it's going to change a generation.
Well, and it's brilliant, because I know even in, the corporate space I used to play in, and going back and working with businesses, and I have such a deep space in my heart for kids. I mean, like I said, with the children's book and all. But what's interesting is having to go back and teach emotional intelligence to grown adults who have never learned that from the beginning. And what's interesting is, I've seen studies around it, plus I've seen it firsthand. Those 2 words, I feel, which are not invited into conversation in normal everyday space. We're so afraid of emotions. We're so afraid of honoring. And it's interesting, because it's okay if someone says, I'm pissed, when that's not really what they are, versus saying, I feel scared, I feel vulnerable, I feel wide open, I feel like I'm standing here naked all alone, is a very different place to hold yourself than I'm pissed off. Because we allow the default that's accepted to be our catch-all for everything. And I think about how debilitating and how detrimental that can be for people on both an individual basis, as well as how they're trying to communicate and collaborate together. And so to teach, because I get excited when I see schools bringing in meditation and yoga and, standing to work and movement and things that are allowing kids to learn mindfulness, and teaching them emotional intelligence so that they're not afraid to use that phrase, I feel, and actually be able to communicate and have awareness around the actual emotion of what they're feeling. Wow, that's so powerful, because that is probably the biggest opportunity right now that could shift business, could shift the way leaders show up, the way people engage, a lot of healing in our culture. And who better to teach us than our own children, right? I mean, that's just brilliant. So what is where is the vision right now? I know you're doing work in Australia and New Zealand. How does this plan unroll so this becomes because everything you do is global and worldwide and has this movement behind it, right? You do nothing small. It's one of the reasons I adore you. You play big. You're like me. Go bigger, right?
Yeah.
And there's no going home. So what is as you start to play in this big, imagine the possibilities, right? We've been dancing in that all year. Imagine the big. What does that start to look like, and how is that taking off?
So I've been doing a lot of work I work with a woman who's like a coach for me, but she teaches me how to tap into some innate abilities that we all have as human beings. And so I'm a master manifester. Like I've been doing it for years. Like I know that whatever I put my mind to is going to happen. But what she's teaching me is how to maintain this vibrational match so that the solutions to the challenges that I'm going to be facing 2 steps ahead are showing up before I even need them, before I even have to look for them. So I've had a couple of like crazy amazing things, and this is why I know I'm on purpose and that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do, even though like my conscious mind goes, seriously, I can't believe you're doing this.
Aside from the fact that 1111 shows up all the time, I'm like you, and that shows up, I'm like, okay, I'm paying attention, I'm listening.
So I was actually at a mastermind a couple of weeks ago, and we're all women with 7, 8, 9-figure earning women, all entrepreneurs, like awesome, powerful women, fantastic. And we, had to go around and say, well, what do we need for our business? We're like, guys, honestly, right now, all I need is a contact with the education system here in the US. I said, I've already been introduced to someone who's going to be a powerful proposal writer for me. She's on board. She loves it, blah, 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 the whole thing. And I see this hand go up at the end of the table. And I'm like looking, I can't even see who the woman is that's got a hand up. And she goes, yeah. She goes, I have my, one of my best friends I went to school with, works for Betsy DeVos. And actually he's the guy that's in charge of the money, like $1 trillion. And I've just gone, okay, I'm done. Mic drop. I'm out. So things like this are showing up. Like that wasn't a contact. That's the contact.
Right.
So, and every time I need something else, like, before even thinking of it, it's starting to show up for us. So that's how in flow, we are at the moment with this thing. And that's how much in dire straits children are right now.
Well, yeah.
Because, I've been in groups where they're talking about, well, what should we teach them? What do they need? I'm like, guys, right now, anything is going to be better than what they've got right now. So we just need to stop talking about it and get off our asses and get in there and do it.
Right.
Which is, that's me, GSD.
Get shit done. Right. Yeah. And mine is intention without action is nothing but lip service. So the only thing, if your intention is only as good as the action you put behind it. Right. And so I love that. It's the GSD, get shit done, move off your ass, do something. And so the one thing I want to come back to, because I know that some of our listeners right now might be struggling with this idea of being in perfect flow. Some of them are struggling to even know what flow means in their life, as well as this concept of being just masterful, and you are a masterful, magical manifester. Talk a little bit about your journey through that, or your process in what that really means. I think people hear the word manifest and immediately there's this shutdown. Oh, that's woo woo. Oh, that's this. Oh, that's whatever. And there's a lot of resistance sometimes that can show up in that space. Would love for you to kind of maybe dispel some of that myth and talk about what that really means to be in flow and manifesting at the level that you do.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that has to do with daily practice. What you do on a daily basis, and for me, like I have way too much evidence to prove that when I'm in, doing these daily things, that I'm maintaining a high vibration. And, and actually I was talking to someone, like my relationship is kind of new. And I was talking to a girlfriend of mine who's in the relationship space. And she goes, oh my God, how does he handle you? Because you're always happy. Like you're always up. And I go, well, I don't know if I'm always that way. She goes, but you are consistent. And the thing is, when we're resonating at these higher frequency, which is all these higher frequency emotions, like happiness and joy and peace and contentment and pride and all of those kind of things, that is the same frequency as abundance. So the more often we can do the little things throughout the day that bump us up into that. And, and honestly, it's like you've swallowed the red pill.
From the Matrix, right?
No, exactly. Because, there are people that live in your neighborhood that are having a completely different life experience to you. And it's like their frequencies down here, your frequencies up here, you're in the same neighborhood, but your life is completely different. It's because you're on this different frequency. And so things like, for me, obviously meditation, I don't do the same meditation all the time. I mix it up. One of the lessons we did for the kids is about brain plasticity. And how the more plasticity we have with our brain, the easier it is for us to adopt new ideas. And so for us to increase our plasticity, we want to do things differently all the time. Don't have the same routine. A lot of people get up and they, get out the same side of the bed, brush their teeth the same way, put on the same clothes, do the same thing. We need to be mixing it up, clean your teeth with your left hand if you're right-handed, do little things like that to really kind of mix things up. So you're not doing the same thing all the time. So my meditation's like that too. And it depends on how much time I have. I always I'm exercising in the mornings. I have a new trainer, actually. She kicked my butt this morning. because I know my limitations, and sometimes I need a little bit of a kick. And obviously, gratefuls are really important. I have a little puppy, and I live in an apartment, but I live on a marina. So, when I take her out, going outside, walk on the marina is my trigger to go into my gratefuls. So I do that frequently throughout the day, which is really important for me. Always trying to listen to, like, I drive a lot between LA and San Diego because our office is down there. So I'm always listening to audiobooks. So these things are just stuff I do without thinking, it's just, I'm just.
But you've created habits. And the thing that I don't think people realize is it is a practice. I even look at when you talk about the gratefuls, and everybody talks about, this attitude of gratitude. I'm like, no, it's a practice of gratitude. You can't just be like, I'm going to have an attitude and there it is. It's a practice. There's a discipline around it, right? And it's interesting that you talk about, because I do the same thing. People are always like, Candy, how do you knock out I on average read a book a week. Now, when I say read, there's also Audible and Kindle, and they're how do you do an Audible a book a week? And I said, because I make choices when I have time, when I'm walking Peyton or when I'm on the plane. I sit next to two gentlemen that have business suits on for a 3.5-hour flight, and they're playing nothing but mindless solitaire for 3 hours. Because here's the thing, I'm like, even take a nap where you can rest and recharge, but for 3.5 hours to mindlessly play a game that you can tell they're not present with, it's just this half-assed kind of like, And I look at, in the same 3.5 hours, I knocked out an audiobook. I did listen to some inspirational music. I meditated and I took a nap. Oh, and I wrote a blog about the fact that I was observing the fact that we were making different choices. Yeah. Because I find it interesting when people go, I don't have enough time to do that. You have all the time you need if you make the choices that support the kind of vibration you want.
Yeah, and here's another layer to that, because yes, awesome, fantastic. But then, you also want to make sure that you give yourself a break every once in a while. And so, like, I know my boyfriend loves to watch documentaries. And if I'm sitting down to TV, believe me, I don't want to be thinking. I have cerebrally messed my mind up for the day. I want to watch something mindless because I just need to check out for a little bit before I go to bed.
There is a place for mindless television and being a couch potato. My thing is when you see people repetitively doing it, and then saying, because I'm all for it, especially after I do like my 3 days coming up in a couple weeks. I guarantee there's 2 days that I go dark. I will probably stream NCIS or Friends or something mindlessly and eat some garbage and just be in a fat, happy space. It's totally okay. It's a space, or I'll just go play and go hang out outside with my dog and not do anything and whatever. I absolutely agree. Yeah. The thing is most people are using that as their default and wondering why their vibration's not attracting the kind of things they want in there. Because I think what's so powerful is that you have very purposeful practices that have become automatic habits for you because you engage in them every day.
And the thing is too, I didn't just start doing them all at once either. I accumulated these over a length of time. So it's not like I set myself up for disappointment and go, right, I'm going to meditate for
everything. Right.
So I got to do that. No, I don't do that.
Yeah. And that's an excellent point, because that's the thing. Everybody wants to boil the ocean, right? They're like, I'm going to be 2.0 version of myself, which means I'm going to overhaul everything. I'm going to clean out the cabinets. I'm going to clean out my life. I'm going to clean out my habits. I'm going to clean out this. And then they're like, oh my God, that's so overwhelming and daunting. And then they spiral and regress and end up in the fetal position 20 minutes later.
Oh, because remember, when you put yourself in stress like that, when you overextend yourself, you put yourself in stress, you'll go back to your default. Mm-hmm. This is what we do. We go back to our set point. So don't set yourself up for failure like that. Like, choose one thing, and maybe it's, you go, okay, meditate this month, meditation, and take time to do it. Like, you don't have to do it all at once. Right. Remember, this is just a moment in, like, 1 month is nothing compared to the rest of your life. Like, and if you do it right and set up the foundation in the beginning, then it's easy for it to become like an unconscious habit.
Yeah. That's so powerful. And I'm a big fan, because that's the other thing people try to do is they want to fix the bad habit. Instead of going in and trying to do all that work to rewire something, just simply replace it with something new and allow yourself to be present. Allow yourself to enjoy the process. I mean, I love that you say take some time in that, right? Because we do, because that's the other thing. Oh my God, I got to get it done today. So 3 days, great. Better be this level. Instead of just taking it piece by piece. One of my favorite movies, because it's always about baby steps, right, was What About Bob, where Bill Murray was always like, baby step to the door, baby step to this, baby step to whatever, because it's that little, any progress forward is movement forward. And if you do it the right way, like you're saying, and create the foundation, you have a higher chance of success and higher chance of sustainability versus regressing back and going back to the defaults, which more times than not, that's what people do, right?
Yeah, and the thing is to remember, like, you know, adding these different things is not a to-do list. It's like, okay, we'll write down 5 gratefuls, write them down, and then on to the next thing. Remember, the whole purpose of doing these exercises is for you to be in the emotion and the frequency of gratitude. So just sit in it, like, and mix it up again. Like, you know, have a cup of tea and sit down and like really mindfully make the cup of tea, sit down, and then write your things and really like marinate in gratefulness. You know, don't just like go through the motions. Like, you know, you've got to get it done. I wonder why this is not happening. You know, it's like on my movies, like I make my movies all the time. I use them relentlessly. You know, so I was just saying, I created a new My Movie for my kids program, and I sent it to Debbie in Sydney, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm bawling my eyes out." I'm like,
so
you know.
So talk a little bit about My Movies, because we talk a lot about power of visualization, and we talk a lot about being connected in that space. And there's people right now that I know are like, I don't have time to marinate. And then my question always, or my response is, then what's it costing you not having that time? Because you're not opening up access for that abundance. You're not. And there's this space around, not everybody visualizes the same way. And I love the way that you've put My Movies together, because there's such a powerful way to bring visualization to life. So talk a little bit about how mind movies work, and what that can do to really help people shift that vibrational energy.
Yeah. So a mind movie is basically the video version of a vision board. So it's a movie that you create, and we've created software so people can easily make these movies. And when you go inside the software, the whole library of affirmations and photos and music. So it's 3 components. You've got your affirmations, which is describing this future that you're creating. Okay. But you obviously, they're affirmations because they're written in present tense, because when you watch it, you've got to be able to see in your mind it already happening, which is why it's written in present tense. And then you have your photos or video clips that enhance, you know, those affirmations. And then of course the music is the secret sauce, because with any of these things, like we said before, emotion is the key, because emotion is the frequency that we're emitting. So when we can listen to a song that really puts us into the energetic space of being already there in our mind, and when I visualize, I do a lot of work with Dr. Joe Dispenza. And so he has this thing we call dimensionalizing. So, you know, we get people to choose one scene, like one slide from their mind movie, and then put yourself in the scene. So rather than seeing yourself as a character in a movie, like in front of you, you're actually in it. Like all of your senses are coming into play. You know, when I was visualizing, you know, finding my guy, like I was like, okay, we're going to be holidaying. We're going to be, you know, on a beach somewhere. So I could feel myself laying on a deck chair, and I could feel the heat of the sun on my skin. I can hear the waves just lapping up on the beach. You know, I'm reaching across, I can feel this cold glass, and it's like a pina colada, because that's what I equate to beach holidays. So, and I can taste like the coconut and the pineapple, and you know, and then I reach across and he grabs my hand, and this feeling of love and contentment, you know, of being with someone and just being in that scene, you know. And the thing is, every time I go back to that scene, I just go a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. So I, you know, put it out even more, because when you're doing all different scenes and kind of going back and forth, you know, like you go, okay, I want to be financially free. Well, that means a bazillion different things, you know. So it's, I think that when you can really put yourself in there and physically feel what it's like, it's so real to your subconscious mind. It really doesn't know the difference.
It doesn't. You know? And it's the more color, because we do the life script, which is more the audio version, right? And I love the mind movies, and I've done mind movies for myself. It's so easy, this process, but you get as you said, you get every sense in a space where you can touch and you can smell and you can hear and you can feel. And then you also give it every kind of color and description. And like, it's not just blue. You can really describe the kind of blue. And the more you get into that space, it's exactly what we've been talking about, to shift people out of this what if, which oftentimes can be this very negative anchoring. Oh, what if this happens? What if I fail? What if comes with a lot of worry versus this powerful space of imagine if. And imagine if and when this is happening in your life, what then opens up and what you feel like, and putting yourself as if it's here right now. There's so much magic in that. And the way that you guys have put Mind Movies together is one of the most brilliant ways I've ever seen, creating a visualization tool that is just, it's fun. It's a lot of fun to get in and play with the pieces. And you're right, the music and you can bring your own pictures in. Like mine has pictures of my dog, and it has pictures of things we're doing together. And there's people that think it's crazy that I build my business based on how much time I can spend with Peyton, and that's my happy space, right? And so I think about that. I think about even when I'm visualizing, I can smell his paws, I can touch. And so it's those spaces where you really engage your being. Just love that. I love that. I love that you teach kids to do that. I love this whole movement that you're moving around. And so for people that are really, either want to learn more about this idea of Mind Movies, or may want to really know more and engage in what you're building out to really lift the level of consciousness for our children, how do they get involved? How do they stay connected to you? How do they learn more, Natalie?
Well, if you go to the main website, which is mindmovies.com, so it's MINDMOVIES, mindmovies.com. So that's kind of our main hub. And this is where you'll find everything. You can actually download 6 pre-made Mind Movies from there. So you can actually, download them, start watching them straight away on different things like confidence and wealth creation and things like that. You also will find out a lot of information about the kids program there too. We also have the Inspiration Show, which is I've been doing for like 5 years now. I've done nearly 600 interviews on this thing. It's crazy. They're only 15 minutes, so they're short and sweet. But the interviews are awesome. So they're really little shots of inspiration. Awesome. And our whole community, you can kind of connect with any part of us, and with me there as well. So mindmovies.com. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And I love you, and I love everything you do. And it's been so long since I've got to catch up with you. So this has not only been just a delight and a treat for me, and I'm so deeply honored to have you here, because you are creating this massive global change, and you are always on the go. And so I deeply appreciate you giving us time today and sharing your brilliance, and just you being the original Natalie, as all in her fabulousness. So thank you for being here. First of all, I just really want to extend some gratitude. And I also, as we kind of close things out, anything you want to leave this audience with, any last, brilliant moments of insight that you would like to just offer with everything that we've talked about so far today?
Yeah, I think like to the naked eye, when from the outside looking in, when you look at like my resume and things that I've done, I'm like, wow, that looks impressive. And like, and I think a lot of people could look at that and go, well, that's you. That's easy for you. But that's not necessarily the case. Like I said, I come from quite humble beginnings, and I still have my own shit, every day.
Amen to that.
I still sometimes feel like a fraud. Sometimes I feel like, I'm not worthy, or, who do I think I am to do, and I still have these doubts. And we all do, especially the fraud thing. I think as women, we really. Yeah,
I think that's a big thing for everybody. It is. It's that space of, oh my God, they're going to find out. I mean, that's one of the things to go back even to our, hey, I'm going to be 45. I look in the mirror and I'm like, how is that possible? I feel like an awkward 15-year-old most days. Like, I really don't know which way's up, and I'm just speaking, and I don't know. I'm afraid somebody at some point is going to be like, Candy, you're full of shit, which sometimes I am.
Yeah.
And it's that space of how do you move through that? And I think that the difference, because it's so easy sometimes to look at people from the outside in to say, well, that's easy for Natalie. That's easy for Candy. That's easy for them. It's that them conversation that gets in our way versus saying, there's been real work and effort that's gone into it. It's similar to people going, oh, you're so lucky. And I always say luck in my world, the definition of luck is WORK.
Yeah.
Luck is I have put the things in place to open up access to more, but there's been a lot of effort in that space. And so I truly hope that that resonates for those of you listening, because I love the fact that you take the opportunity to get really real with people, because you are one of the most down to earth, humble people I know. For all the greatness and amazing things that you have created, you are one of the most down to earth people and just real authentic beings. And it's one of the reasons I love spending time with you. And I think when people understand that greatness is truly just us all being human and stepping into our gifts, that's the simplicity of it. We all have the monkey mind and the chatter and what I call the noise. And so for all of you listening, know that it's your opportunity to say yes to yourself on whatever level that means, and take heed and do the practices and do the things one piece at a time that are going to allow you to lift your own vibration, that are going to allow you to open up access to more. And it does start with a belief and knowing, because I think you started everything with saying, but I know I believe I can do this. I believe I am worthy of this. Knowing and having that belief is the first piece to say yes to yourself. And so I hope you all will say yes to yourself and know that leadership is a choice, and destroy whatever noise, whatever myths, whatever stories, and step through that fear that's getting in the way, so that you
feeling
can.
The fear is fine. Just don't stay there.
No. And the fear, oftentimes I find the fear to be the biggest blessing, because it shows me something that's big enough that scares me. Oh, yeah. Without fear, I feel like I'm playing small, because if it doesn't scare me, why the hell do I want to move forward in it? So embrace that, right? I think about your gratefuls. I have a lot of gratefuls for my fear, because it means it's big and it's scary and it's something meaningful, right? And so I hope all of you will dance in your fear a little bit and get out there and shine the light that you were designed to shine, so that you can be purposeful, passionate, and present every day in the life that you live. So with that, thank you so much, Natalie, for being here. I adore you. Mm-hmm. And thank you all for joining us. Join us next time, as we'll have another powerhouse hitter in the ring. And just know I'm sending you all heart-to-heart loves. Catch you next time.